how do you do it? Should more leaders be in psychotherapy? Should they be mountain climbing? What are the mechanics of changing a limitation? I mean, after all, if it's your own limitation, presumably, you put it there. You're probably attached to it on some level.
Well, unconsciously maybe, but let's just talk about how it happens. People are not one way. We are a reflection of the states we're living in. When you're in a frustrated state, an overwhelmed state, a tired state, your brain processes completely differently than if you're in a passionate state, whether you're feeling determined, whether you're feeling committed, whether you feel completely resolved. So learning to change the leader's state, learning how to change your own state. Because, people, one of the silliest questions I get asked is, you're not really that happy, are you? You have bad days, don't you? Of course I have, bad times. But I don't have bad days anymore, and it's not BS, it's because I've trained myself like an athlete to go in these peak states so often that they're just natural for me. It's like building a muscle. So it's not like I'm so smart or I'm just so positive. It's just like, why would I waste my time stressing out? I have a 90-second rule. I'll stress for 90 seconds, but stress is not going to solve it. Let me put myself back in a different state. And so the way I do that is I use my body. Because I've done this with athletes for decades, with billionaire businessmen. If you see somebody gets in a slump of some sort, great athlete, Paul Tudor Jones, one of the greatest financial traders in the history of the world, I've coached him for 22 years. When I came to see him, this is a man who made 200% in 1987 when the stock market had its biggest single crash in a day, percentage-wise still. He made 200% for his clients, more money than anybody could dream of. Then he went to the moon and he went down to earth and then he lost money. So I was brought in to turn him around. Well, how do you turn a guy like that around? Yeah. I watched him. His shoulders were down. He was breathing like this. He's sitting like this all the time because he'd been through these failures and it started to get stored in his body. Now, in this state, this man is a genius, couldn't do it. So I watched films when he was at his best. And he's like standing up and he's doing this. This is what I'm going to do. Sell this, make this happen. And the movement, the intensity, the way he used his face. And so I showed him a video of himself today. I showed him a video when he was at his best. And I said, what do you notice? He was like, those are two different people. I said, yes, but we can get back to this guy by just using the body first. Trying to use your mind, you'll go in circles. But I've been teaching for years that a radical change in your body instantly changes your biochemistry. 38 years I've taught it. 2 years ago at Harvard, they did a study, scientifically proven what I've been teaching all these decades, where they call it power postures.
Yeah, the Wonder Woman stance.
Yeah, standing like Wonder Woman or Superman for 2 minutes.
Yep.
Or like you see guys like this, pull back like that for 2 minutes, literally increases your testosterone in your biochemistry within 2 minutes by 20%. It drops cortisol by 18%, which is the stress hormone, and increases your chance of taking a more risky behavior, which is what's required of a leader, by 33%, 2 minutes. Now that's just standing a certain way. I show people use their voice, their body, their movement, which is 10 times more dynamic than just a stiff stance. And when you change your state, your mental, emotional state, you change your performance. Haven't you had times when you have can't remember how to spell a difficult word like the or your own email
really
or something
tired, like can't remember
what it is.
Cousin's name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you've had times where you're in the flow where after you do something you're like, I did that. I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
Absolutely.
I was in the flow. Well, you're the same person. The only difference is state. So training yourself to be in a peak state every day. I mean, you think about like a great businessman, think of a great entertainer like Elton John has been around in rock and roll for what, 40, how many years is it, 40 years?
70s, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's mind-boggling. And most people still like some sample of his music. Well, he's got to have days when he gets up to entertain when he thinks, if you make me sing that Daniel song one more time, I'm going postal, right? But he never does. Every single time he's in that same beautiful state. That's not because he's naturally like that. He's trained himself to do that. Like a great athlete trains himself. That's what leaders have to do. The state of the union, the state of the company is the culture. And the culture starts at the head. Whoever that leader is, their state impacts everybody else. So training yourself to be in that peak state is the key to it all. I think ferocity of spirit is critical for everybody, but we all have it. It's like a muscle.
Do we all have it?
Yeah, we do. Courage unused, though, becomes weaker. Determination unused gets smaller. Passion unexpressed gets smaller. It's like any muscle, the more you use it. And he's been using it for years. His son, though, here's the other thing. He had a reason larger than himself. You see the pattern in all the people that have overcome. He wanted to do for his son. At the time, he told me about his worried about all his employees, and he really cares about his people. But here's the secret, though. You have to make that shift where it's no longer an excuse. If you give yourself an excuse, humans will take it. If you're going to take the island, you burn the boats. And he burned the boats and said, I'm going to find the answer. First, he shifted his psychology, came to my business mastery program, and then he got the skills. Because like I said earlier, it's not just confidence. You got to have skill, and he had both, and he found the way. Share them what you did.
Yeah, after that particular business mastery program, again, as Tony says, 80% of it is psychology, and then 20% of it is mechanics or the strategies.
Yeah.
But unless you get the psychology down, the mechanics don't matter. And I can tell you from that day in November of 2008 where I made that decision that I was not going to fail, and I kissed my lady and said, I'm going back to work. And we went out there and I learned how to export. And when there was no market for steel in the United States, I was able to export to several different companies or several different countries. And we took off from there. We continued to grow. And it was just, again, it's about a mindset. It's about having a level of pride. For me, it was coming from where I come from. The Melio name didn't mean a whole heck of a lot. And I was determined to change that because it's something of what I call generational influence. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for my son.
The other thing you should do if you're not very industrious is discipline yourself. And so what do you do with that? Eat 3 times a day at regular meal times. That's a good thing to practice because that starts to put some stability into your life. Get up at the same time. I would highly recommend all those young people out there who are listening, like, you want to get a jump on life, get the hell out of bed in the morning. As I've got older, I've got up earlier and earlier. Now that's partly because you don't need as much sleep, but it's also partly because I've got more and more disciplined. Like, get up early in the morning and get your things done. Man, learn to get up at 6 in the morning and you'll be one deadly creature, especially if you can get to work. You'll have half your damn day done by the time other people haul their sorry asses out of bed. And so that's a massive, massive advantage. Look, Warren Farrell, not the comedian, Warren Farrell, the author, he outlined data in Why Men Earn More, which is a book I would recommend, by the way, showing that if you work 13% longer hours, you make 40% more money. It's non-linear. So you think, why is that? Well, imagine you had 10 employees and one of them works an extra 10%. It's not much. Well, how often is that person going to be promoted? Assuming you have a clue as a boss. It's like you're going to look at the 10 people and you're going to think, oh, that guy's always here like 45 minutes early. It's like, why don't we give him the promotion? Obviously, right? So these small edges that you can manage like that, work an extra 10% or extra 13%, have non-proportional payoffs. That's part of the Pareto distribution. So get your sleep cycle organized so you get up in the morning. Learn how to do it. No excuses. I'm too tired in the morning. I don't like mornings. Who cares? That's not relevant. It's like discipline yourself so you can manage it. Schedule your meals because that's a good disciplinary routine. And then learn to use a calendar, like Google Calendar. Many of you out there do not use a calendar. Okay, a calendar is not a prison and it's not a tyrant. Not if you use it properly. A calendar keeps anxiety at bay. It makes sure that you do what you need to do, which is important because otherwise you fall behind. But if you use it properly, it also helps you plan what you want to do. So I could say, well, lay out your damn calendar and design the days you would like to have. That's what your calendar is for. So you can put in all sorts of things in there you want to do and that would be good for you. And that's a really good way to start being more industrious. Make a plan. You need a plan for 3 years. You need a plan for the next year. You need a plan for the next 6 months. You need a plan for the next 3 months. You need a plan for the week. You need a plan for the day. You need a plan for the hour. All of that. I make lists constantly of what I have to do. And they're like daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. Right now, I can't look out more than about 6 months, because my life is too complicated and chaotic. But you need a vision of who you could be, what character you could have. 3 to 5 years out, you can't go much farther than that because life is too unpredictable, I think, to make vision that's longer term than that subject to there's too much chance associated with it to spend a lot of time on. Maybe you can stretch it to 5 years, and in rare cases, you can have a 10-year goal, but it has to be pretty low resolution. But you want plans at all those levels of resolution. You want to write the things down. And because what are you going to do? You're going to stumble around and get what you need? You're going to stumble around and be useful to other people? And it's useful to be useful to other people, you know? They want to work with you then. They want to do things with you. They want to have you around. They trust you. They open up opportunities for you. And if you stumble around like you're blind, you're not going to get anywhere. And then you're going to suffer. And then you're going to be bitter. And then you're going to be cruel. So that's hell. That's a bad outcome.
The most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. You wake up with it. You walk around with it. Eventually, you'll act on it. And my self-talk was the most disgusting self-talk of all time. So the sewer of my mind, like I said, you have to go back in there and fix things. A lot of us are afraid. Like right now, 20 years ago, you wouldn't find me on this show. I was too embarrassed to tell you I stuttered, I lied, all these different things, getting beat up, getting bullied, whatever happened. But that's where the true transformation starts to happen. When you can look at people, anybody, thousands of people, one person, and say, hey, this is who I am. And this is where I have to fix myself. And this is where it really happened. I thought it happened when I was in, 19, 18 years old trying to pass this military test. Right. It happened here when I was almost 300 pounds, spraying for cockroaches, making $1,000 a month. And, people called me dumb. My dad called me so many things, it's not even funny. Being beat just stripped me of all self-esteem. This is when I realized I was alone on this earth. Yeah. I have God, but alone on this earth, and I have to fix everything. So this is where I started to develop an indestructible mental toolbox.
Okay.
So I came home one night after spraying for cockroaches at Ecolab, and literally I was praying at Steak and Shake, and I would go across the street to 7-Eleven. I had a 45-minute commute home. So I worked from 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
I had a 45-minute commute home. And my stop would be, Steak and Shake, chocolate milkshake, across the street, 7-Eleven, box of mini chocolate donuts, and I would eat that on the way home.
Yeah, sure.
When I come home, I turn the TV on, I take my shake because the box of donuts they were killed.
Oh, yeah.
I kill those.
Yeah.
Go back to the back, turn the TV on and take a shower. Listen to the TV while I'm taking a shower. This day I heard these guys on the TV talking about Navy SEAL, toughest, class 224. So I heard stuff about Navy SEALs. These are the baddest of the baddest. Yeah. So I come out and I'm watching this show while I'm drinking my shake. And when you're watching the show of guys who are putting out there and they're quitting left and right.
Oh, sure.
Just can't handle it. They're going through Hell Week. They show them going through first phase, second phase, third phase, and they're dropping like flies. I looked in this one guy's eyes who was ringing the bell to quit, to put his helmet down out of Navy SEAL training, and I saw myself. And I saw what everybody said I was going to be, which was nothing. What I said I was going to be, that conversation you have, that's who I was. So that's why I lied to people to tell them a different version of the truth.
Sure.
I had to make all those lies reality. I had to make them real. I had to become a real person. So that's when I put in my mind that I'm going to go to the toughest military training on the planet. And where it has the most water, the thing I was scared of the most, I had to go back. So a lot of us run away from our fears.
Sure.
And we box ourselves in to a lifestyle of this is all we can do. Because I'm afraid of everything outside this box.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable inside this box. I jumped the box.
Oh, you did, yeah.
For the first time in my life. Mentally, I jumped the box and said, hey, I got to come out here and play.
Lesson 1, you get an additional 30 minutes of sleep a night. Take it as a challenge. Try to find that space, quiet your mind, and get your 30 minutes of sleep. And you'll see it makes a really, really big difference. My sleep habits were horrendous, to say the least. I mean, I've always had a hard time sleeping. I couldn't figure out how to shut my brain off. So what made the light bulb come on is that I went out there and played a game, and I played like crap. And I was like, why am I playing like crap? Because I've been practicing these same moves over and over and over. But yet, I couldn't execute them properly. I was feeling sluggish, I was feeling lethargic, and I knew it wasn't because of my training, because I had trained obsessively. So then I started looking at other things. And that's when I came to the realization that, hey, Kobe, you're not 21 years old anymore, buddy. Like, maybe the fact that you're sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night, maybe that has something to do with the fact that you're playing like crap. And that's when I started really evaluating those things. And I'd say lesson 2 would be just 5 minutes of quiet time. 5 minutes for you to be mindful and to just sit and find that inner voice and just kind of listen to the self. Preferably it would be in the morning as you start your day. I meditate every day. And I do it in the mornings, and I do it for about 10 to 15 minutes. And I think it's important because it sets me up for the rest of the day. You know, it helps me. It's like having an anchor. You know, it's if I don't do it, I feel like I'm constantly chasing the day, as opposed to being able to be controlled and dictate the day. Not that you're, calling the shots on what comes forward, but the fact that I am set and ready for whatever may come my way. I have a calmness about whatever comes my way, and a poise. And that comes from starting the morning off with meditation. For me, it's really just listening to my inner self. I mean, that's basically it. Like you sit in silence, and you just allow these thoughts to come forward, and you get a chance to observe the self and things that may be lying beneath the surface that if you don't have that time to sit quietly on your own, you'll never pay attention to. Because if you think about it, the reality is we're paying attention to so many things that are going on around us. We're constantly taking selfies, we're constantly taking pictures to post on Instagram and all these other things, and we're constantly observing everything that's around us, but we don't take the time to really observe what's going on inside of ourselves. And that's what meditation is for me. In 2000, we had a new head coach that came to the Los Angeles Lakers by the name of Phil Jackson. And Phil was just coming off of winning 6 championships with the Bulls. And he was really big on mindfulness and really big on meditation. And it wasn't an option for us. So we'd sit in our film room, and he'd turn the lights out, and we would meditate as a group, and he'd teach us mindfulness. And it really connected with me because he was teaching mindfulness through something that I was extremely passionate about, which was the game of basketball. So it was told through the lens of, this is going to help you here. And so I had this curiosity about it. And that was my introduction to meditation. And then seeing the poise that we played with, the fact that we can be in a hostile environment with fans yelling and screaming and pressure situations, and it having no effect on us, because we were never too high, never too low. We were just in the moment, and felt very secure in who we were. And that was my introduction to meditation. I had a great experience, which really I learned a lot about meditation through this experience. I was on a jet ski, and I took the jet ski out in the ocean, and I just kind of sat, and I just let the current just take me wherever it was going to take me. And I really saw a lot of meditation through that moment, because I wasn't trying to control the moment. I wasn't trying to force myself upon the waves and dictate where I was going to go. I just let the waves take me there. And there was a lot of peacefulness involved in that.